Good morning. This is the Licensing Subcommittee hearing for the 13th of August 2018, just past 10 o'clock. Start my chairman's announcement. Welcome to everybody, and you are live on YouTube. So people on this side of sitting on the tables, they will already be seen and heard. But you'll only be heard when you toggle on and toggle off on your little speakers. Some housekeeping before we start. Fire alarm. I'm not expecting a fire alarm, so if it does go off, no drills, it will be the real thing. So please leave by the way you came in, on your left or on your right. You can follow us officers as well. We'll be meeting outside at the Slug and Lettuce, which is apt for a licensing meeting. Mobile phones, switch them off, please. Especially, I haven't got my phone on me, this is good. Or put them to silent. Like I said, we're streaming live. Before I move on to the agenda, let me introduce myself. I'm Councillor Roy Chamdell. I'm the chairman of the meeting. Other councillors that are here, which will be making decisions, we have Councillor Allen on my right and Councillor Barnes. And also assisting me is my legal advisor, is Mr. Egan on my right, and on Democratic Services, Mr. Taylor. We have other people here, officers here. If you'd like to introduce yourself, toggle on, toggle off.
Thank you, Chairman. Chini Mukherjee, Licensing Officer, London Borough of Hillingdon.
Mr. Panchal.
Okay, we'll go that way then. I was going to go for Kieran first.
Kieran Sayan, Trading Standards Officer for the London Borough of Hillingdon.
And gentlemen, you know the procedure, Mr. Panchal.
Mr. Panchal from Personal License Committee, representing my client, Mr. Lamba, the license holder of the premises.
Would Mr. Lambert like to introduce himself? I'm very keen that everybody introduces themselves. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Mr. Lambert.
Thank you very much. You're welcome. Right. Turn to agenda. Apologies for absence.
No apologies.
Any declarations of interest in matters coming before this meeting? Everything is in part one, so we don't need to clear the room. There's no addendum sheet. No. Kick off, Jenny.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning to all of you. I'll briefly talk you through today's hearing relating to the licensing review of an off-license trading as Eastcote News. The premises is located on 239 Field End Road, Royslip, HA4 9NJ. The current premises license has been in force since 18th of July 2016 and is in the name of Mr. Katta Singh Lamba, who is also the DPS of the premises. A copy of the premises license is attached as Appendix 3, which is from between pages 7 and 41. This review is led by the Trading Standards, a responsible authority under the Licensing Act 2003, and is represented by Kieran Sayan. We have not received any representations from any other responsible authorities, interested parties, or ward councillors on this. The review application states that the premises has a history of selling counterfeit cigarettes associated with it. On 17th of December 2015, as submitted by Trading Standards, a visit to the shop resulted in the seizure of a bulk of counterfeit cigarettes and tobacco. A warning letter was issued at that time to the then DPS, Mr. Kuldeep Singh Bedi, advising that a review of the premises license will follow if there is intelligence of any similar non-compliance in the future. Mr. Katta Singh Lamba, the present DPS, was a director of the company alongside Mr. Kuldeep Singh Bedi at that time, and the premises license then was in the name of the company called Eastcote Newsbox Limited, which was eventually dissolved on 7th of February 2017. On 26th of April 2018, a joint operation was carried out at various off-license premises across the borough, identified as possibly selling counterfeit goods. Eastcote News was one of these premises, and the search there led to the discovery of a total of 440 counterfeit cigarettes, amounting to an approximate value of £77, as advised by the representative from the tobacco industry. Kieran Sayan can highlight more on the breakdown of the average price of counterfeit and a legitimate pack of cigarettes. Following this, the Trading Standards submitted a review of the premises license on 19th of June 2018, seeking a suspension of the premises license for 1 month, in addition to including the proposed conditions by the Trading Standards team. I made an unannounced visit to the shop on the 19th of June 2018 to hand deliver the review notice. I also did a compliance visit at that time, and no breaches of the license conditions were witnessed by me then. I would now invite the subcommittee to determine the application to ensure that the promotion of the crime prevention objective is upheld with respect to this application for review of the premises license. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mukherjee. Couple of questions. Just so we're absolutely clear, the previous time that there was a visit and you found illegal tobacco, in what capacity was Mr. Lambert involved in the business?
He was a director of the company. The premises license at that time was in the name of a company called Eastcote News Box, and there were 2 directors, one of which was Mr. Lambert, though the DPS at the time of the premises was the other director called Mr. Kuldeep Singh Bedi.
Okay, and on your visit on the 19th of the 6th, in terms of what did that involve? You said you didn't find anything, or everything was in order. Did you check? What did you actually check for?
I did a compliance check, just ascertaining the DPS was not there at the premises, but the DPS does not always need to be there at the premises. The person who was in charge had an awareness of the licensing objectives, and they were complying with their license conditions. So I did not do any checks on counterfeit tobacco or anything because that's outside my remit.
Councillors, any questions? Councillor Allen.
I just don't know whether you'll be able to answer this after such a long time, but could you tell me the quantity of the cigarettes seized last time?
You mean the recent one or the one in 2015?
The previous one.
I think, Councillor Allen, we've got a document which actually wasn't in the pack. That's why the meeting got delayed. It was online. We have a breakdown of everything that was there.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about this time.
No, previous time. It does say this for the 15th.
Right, okay.
It's just...
Sorry, I didn't look at the back.
That's okay, second paragraph.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions, councillors? Ms. Sain.
Good morning, committee. My name is Kiran. I work for the Trading Standards Service. The application to review has been submitted by the Trading Standards Service and is detailed in Appendix 1 within documentation pack. There's certain pages that were missing, which I think we've all got now. So the application was in support of the licensing.
Sorry, the pages that we're talking about are 3 pictures of products and a breakdown of the previous history, yeah?
And there was also a statement included. What I submitted is not fully in the pack that I've got, so I'm not sure what you do or do not have. Apologies. Yeah, that's a statement, yeah.
Karen, I'll read it.
Yeah? Oh, yeah, I think that's everything. If you've got a statement, you've got 3 photos, and you'll have a list of previous history, then you should have everything that was missing from my pack. So I intend to summarise the main points detailed in the application. As Ginny's already gone through it, I don't wish to repeat the same things again, so I'll keep it brief. On the 26th of April 2018, complaint-led visits were planned in the Borough. These visits were conducted by Trading Standards, myself, accompanied by brand representatives. The purpose was to conduct inspections at premises where intel suggested that illicit goods was being sold. One of the premises targeted was Eastcote News Box. At the time of visit, there was one staff member present who identified himself as Mr. Narinder Singh Lamba. He made a call to the owner, Mr. Kardar Singh Lamba, who I spoke to, and explained the reason for why we were there. I also asked him whether he knew of any illicit goods being present on the site. He stated he did not have any illegal goods. The premises was inspected and tobacco was found in the tobacco gantry, as can be seen in the photos. So if I refer you now to the photos, there's three. There's one where you see a whole array of tobacco. Are we all looking at the same one? So this one is a photo of the tobacco gantry with the doors open. As legislation requires, tobacco is supposed to be, it's not supposed to be visible for sale. It's supposed to be hid in tobacco gantries or under the shelf. Within this tobacco gantry, the tobacco representative that was present with myself went through and examined the products. And out of those, we seized a quantity of Marlborough Gold and a quantity of Lambert and Butler, can't speak English, Butler cigarettes that were identified as counterfeit. Now, these products were being put in the tobacco gantry, being passed off as genuine. They were in what is now classed as standardised packaging, as is a requirement per the legislation. But because they'd been put in amongst genuine product, if a customer came to the store and asked for that product, it would be very easy for them to be passed off as genuine and a lot harder for them to identify. The total amounts that were seized on the day of cigarettes were 440 cigarettes, and they were all counterfeit. Additionally, we also seized 2 SanDisk cards which were identified as counterfeit by the other brand rep present. Mr. Lambert at the time arrived at the premises in time for when the seizure took place, and he was informed of what had occurred. He stated that some man had visited and sold the tobacco from his car. I asked him what this man looked like. I asked for a description, what the person's name was, what the vehicle details, or any form of description. Mr. Lambert could not provide me with one at all. Within the pack, you'll also see a statement from Mr. Horsey, who was present at the time and confirmed the status of those products and the fact that he found them in the tobacco gantry. The premise currently trades under licence number LBH75-05, which is granted by the London Borough of Hillingdon to permit the sale of alcohol since the 7th of March 2017. The premise has previously traded under a company name of Eastcote Newsbox Limited, for which Mr. Gurdar Singh Lambert was a director, along with Mr. Kuldeep Singh Bedi. This company was incorporated on 6th of September 2011, and it dissolved on the 7th of Feb 2017. There is previous history associated with this premises during the time that it has been run by the above-mentioned persons. The premises has been visited and inspected and advised in the past by Trading Standards, the Met Police and the Licensing Service. I'll refer you now to the previous history. You can have a look at that. A previous visit was done in December 2015 by members of the Trading Standards Service, and a significant quantity of tobacco was found within a till. And that till was seized because Mr. Bedi indicated that he did not have the keys for that till. Whilst Mr. Bedi is no longer the director of the limited company, Mr. Gurdar Lambert, who is the DPS and the premise licence holder, was a director of the company at that time. So he would have been aware of this happening. The company was advised and written to, and a follow-up visit was done, and the company at the time and the business at the time was informed that if any further non-compliances occurred, it would result in a potential licence review or prosecution. The Trading Standards Service is of the opinion that the conduct of the owner demonstrates the continued disregard of the law and raises questions as to whether the business is managed in accordance with the licensing objectives. Further, I would quote the Section 182 guidance, which states that there is certain criminal activity that may arise in connection with licensed premises which should be treated particularly seriously. These are the use of licensed premises for the sale or storage of smuggled tobacco and alcohol. In closing, I invite the committee to consider the service recommendation that the licence be suspended for at least a month and conditions that are listed on page 14 be added to the licence. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for that. A few questions, some clarifications. I'll kick off. So, when you went into the premises, you made a call to Mr. Lambert and you asked him the question,
Yes.
Are there any illicit goods? Just to clarify it, just to make sure absolutely clear.
Yeah.
And what was his reaction?
So I can refer to my statement, which is included in the pack. If we go to paragraph 6 on page 19, staff member placed a call to the owner, Mr. Gurdar Singh Lambert, and I spoke with him over the phone, explaining the reason for our visit and asking him whether he had any illicit alcohol or tobacco in the shop. He responded to state that there was no illegal goods.
Thank you for that. Now, you mentioned the value of these goods.
Yes.
I'm a bit confused because we seem to have three values here. One, you've put down as £77 worth of the goods.
Mm-hmm.
And that's on page 3, sorry. It says page 3 of your pack. Point 3.1, paragraph 3. We have...
Sorry, I don't know which bit you're referring
to. Go to page 3.
Yeah.
3.1. Point 3.1. Third paragraph down.
Mm-hmm.
It says a total of 440 counterfeit cigarettes amounting to the value of £77.
Yes. We
have one value there. We have on these additional pages that have been given on page 28, it says 17 packs offered for sale at $8.99 a pack.
That would be the price of a genuine product.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. So that's...
Yeah, so
just, if you just note them down first and then
okay.
give us an answer in one go, that would be good. So you've got $8.99 there, and then you've got the average price of cigarettes when counterfeit are $3.50 per pack of 20.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I need, just clarification, right, where is this, do we have a recommended retail price for counterfeit goods in the industry, or is it just a figure made up? Because I'm very much of the understanding we have a recommended retail price, as is noted on page 28, and so that's the potential sale value, rather than whatever they sell it. So if we total it up as the value that's written on potential sales value, could we have a value of what it would be potentially?
Yeah. I think the reason, just to clarify on your point, you're correct in what you're saying. So what I've put as a value of goods is what the value of counterfeit cigarettes would be, based on what I've been advised by trademark representatives in the past. The statement that you've got correctly says that these were offered for $8.99 per pack because these were being passed off as genuine. So there's no attempt here being made to sell these as counterfeit. These are fully being passed off as genuine because they're being put in the tobacco gantry.
Yeah, I get that. What I say is
so
we've got a value put here of £77, which to me doesn't seem to weigh correctly with the information that's in front of us. So, I mean, just loosely looking at it, what do we get? 150. We get to about £202.83, according to my calculations. I think that sort of just makes it quite set. In terms of involvement, do we know what involvement Mr. Lambert had with the business previous, when he was a director?
I don't know that, but if he holds the capacity of a director, he's directly responsible for that business. So whilst he's only become the DPS and premise licence holder as of the new licence that was issued, he still would have had significant responsibility in running the business beforehand.
I was just wondering whether he was spoken to previous. It's not actually recorded anywhere that he was spoken to previous. I do get what you're saying, but you did make the point that he was aware of it, so I just wonder if you had any evidence of that.
It wouldn't be detailed in here, but in our backlog of history, from the visits that have been done by trading standards throughout the years to the premises, on certain occasions when these visits were done, it was Mr. Lambert that was present.
Okay, and in terms of, you asked the question whether who he bought this illegal tobacco off. I understand on page 19.10 you have put down that he's not given any information on who this chap was. Was the question, do we know how much he actually bought from this gentleman in the vehicle? Because obviously you've only found 17 packets?
Yes.
21 packets or whatever it was. Was the question asked how much he actually purchased?
Questions were put to Mr. Lambert, but no information was forthcoming.
Thank you. Councillors, any questions? Okay. I think Councillor Adam first, you put a hand up.
Thank you. It's regarding the CCTV. It makes mention on page 33, on the front door, it says CCTV in operation. Was that ever checked?
No, because that's not an area that actually comes under my remit. So when I do my visits, unless I have a licensing officer accompanying me, they would look at compliance with the licensing objectives while I'm looking at the things that come under my remit. So no, on the occasion that I visited, that wouldn't have been checked. It may have been checked when Ginny subsequently visited.
Yes, Councillor Allen.
No, that's for the general discussion. This is just points on Kieran, on what statement she made. The agenda is quite clear. Yeah, we do get to a discussion stage after everybody's had their go, yeah? I know you're all eager to get to it, but hold your horses. Any more questions, Councillor Allen? Councillor Barnes.
Hi, Kieran. I just wanted to ask you, did you ask Mr. Lambert how often this chap came in his car and he bought things?
I don't believe I did. I've not referenced that. To my recollection, I don't believe I did.
Thank you. Is that it? Thank you, Ms. Sain. Mr. Panchal or Mr. Lambert? Fire away.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Chairman, I'm going to put some light onto the premises and some light onto Mr. Lambert's details. Mr. Lambert holds a personal license from 2011. He was in partnership with Mr. Bedi from 2011 when they acquired the shop. At that particular time, they had a limited company, which Mr. Bedi was the DPS and the sole were running the shop. In 2016, Mr. Bedi left the partnership from the limited company, and Mr. Lambert took over the shop as a sole proprietor in 2016. The license was changed, and Mr. Lambert became the new DPS and the license owner of the premises. Mr. Lambert agrees that yes, he has made a mistake by purchasing those cigarettes from a person who had come in. And he does apologize to the committee and the chairman and the licensing the mistake he is committed. He has fully cooperated with the responsible authorities and does agree that he has no problem in going back to the training session and making sure he fully complies with the 4 licensing objectives. He has agreed to, as you have seen, and we did send an email on 10th of August to the licensing officer, Ginny, which is not in your pack, but there is an email that we sent to Ginny that after discussing with Mr. Kartar Singh Lambert, we agreed to have those 3 conditions endorsed and a 1-month suspension. During that 1-month suspension, and presently Mr. Lambert is undergoing training, full training with us. We are a training company. All the matters are put in place, and you can see the visit which happened on 19th of June by the licensing officer, that there were no breaches of the license conditions on the licensing matter at the premises. So, Chairman, we are very willing to move forward. My client is very willing to move forward in the mistake he has made, and does say that he wants to get on with the 4 licensing objectives and make sure that it doesn't happen in future of what has happened at the shop at this particular instant. And if there are any questions, my client is happy to answer that.
Thank you, Mr. Panchal. And I welcome what you've said. I do have a few questions. to the licence holder. Right, first of all, Mr. Lambert. Page 19 of the pack, point 6. Yeah, you was asked a question whether you had any illegal alcohol or tobacco in the shop, and you responded no. Now, you are the DPS, you are the licence holder, you are the sole running of the business. So could you explain that point, please? In detail.
I'm not sure in the wrong cigarette I'm in the shop. I'm no selling wrong, no cigarette and no alcohol in the shop.
So just switch it off when I'm speaking here. Thank you, sir. Now, the question was, you were phoned and you said you had no illicit alcohol or tobacco in the shop. Could you explain that when illicit tobacco was found in the shop?
Yeah, I am no sure in this is wrong cigarette. I'm no smoking. Somebody give me to this wrong cigarette.
Mr. Pancho, your client, does he understand fully what I'm saying? Because is he fully aware of the reason for this subcommittee hearing and the possible outcomes? Because the evidence that he gives us now is what we make our decision on. Okay, along with the pack that we have, the additional paperwork that we've been given. Now, his responses are extremely, extremely important to what our decision will be, sir. And you're aware of what options we have.
Yes, Chairman, I'm fully aware, and I've explained to the client about the decisions and what can happen at this hearing and why he's here at the hearing. The problem we have at the moment is...
Does he understand what we're saying? I mean, that's my key. I understand you're speaking, I believe, in Punjabi to him. Please make sure he understands clearly. We've got the time to do it. Yeah. Okay, we'll leave that point now. So the next question will be, how much did he buy from this person? He was the person who bought this illegal tobacco.
Yeah.
Could you tell me how much exactly he bought? And please be honest.
कितनी ली थी आपने उसके पास से?
I'm buying the 3 order.
Could you have some details, please, in terms of how many packs, what product?
And the Marlboro Gold is the 10 pack.
Is that 10 packets of 20 or 10 packets of 2,000?
No, the whole pack is the 10 cigarette.
So 200 cigarettes?
Yeah, number butter in the 2 packs. Only 3 pack I'm buying for somebody.
And how many times have you done this, sir?
Only one time, this time.
Did you get a VAT receipt, an invoice for this goods that you purchased?
No.
Where do you normally purchase your tobacco? If you let me finish my question, sir. If you switch it off, it's an easy process. I speak, then you speak, yeah? Okay? So, where did you purchase your tobacco from previously?
In cash and carry.
And are you given an invoice for this?
Yes.
So did you not question why you weren't given an invoice for this tobacco that you sold? Let me finish, sir. Yeah? Because you mentioned that you're not aware of who this... Was it a man or a woman that you, first of all, did you buy off?
Man.
So I can say, look, so when this gentleman came in and sold you the cigarette, did you ask any questions where he had purchased them, whether you were going to get an invoice, and that you normally get an invoice?
No, sometime it's coming in the GTI one, and the cigarette man in the car is coming selling cigarette. I'm not sure this is no right man is.
What's the GTI?
Chairman, I explained to what GTI is. GTI, what he means by is the wholesalers from the cigarette company normally come down to supply to the off-licenses shops. So he he thought that the wholesalers who come normally to supply, he could be one of them, so he didn't go too much into details with him.
So did this GTI chap show some identification? And once again, was you given any paperwork, i.e. an invoice, for these goods?
His man is coming sometime in the... I'm not sure this is GTI and another one, and 2-3 company, B&H one, GTI, Lumber Butter one, and the man selling. I'm not sure this is wrong one, sir. This is my mistake one time.
Okay, the training that you've been having, could you just give us a little bit of details in what you've learnt so far?
Yeah, between the 4 objection. That's it. Yeah, I have.
क्या ट्रेनिंग में क्या करते हो? तुम बता दें ट्रेनिंग मैन्युअल ये सारा कुछ बताओ दुकान के लिए रखने के लिए.
No, I have been the good staff, legal staff. I'm buying for cash and carry, for invoice, selling for invoice, everything. This is my mistake one time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lambert. Councillors, any questions or clarifications? Councillor Barnes.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Pancella, Mr. Lambert, I know, Mr. Lambert, you've been saying this is your mistake one time, but you were a director. You have been a director for a while, or were a director before for the same shop, and the same error was made, the same, selling illegal tobacco was made in the same store. How come there wasn't any training done over a year ago when you changed the name and you became the DPS and the such like?
He wasn't fully when they bought the shop in 2011. Mr. Lambert wasn't fully involved in the shop. Mr. Bedi was fully involved in the shop, so it was left to Mr. Bedi to run the shop, and that during that time. In 2016, when the license was transferred and Mr. Lambert took over, that's when Mr. Lambert started having the trainings and everything with us, because we were involved in 2016 when we transferred the license, and Mr. Lambert went through the trainings and everything with us, and he's still ongoing training with us, fully ongoing training with us.
Councillor Allen.
You've told us that GTR, Lambert and Butler, whoever, come along and come to your shop and sell you things, and presumably you get receipts, and yet you weren't quite sure whether the chap who was selling you what he shouldn't be selling you was legal or not. So, did you really know what you were doing, or are you walking us down the garden path here?
No, I'm not sure the cigarette is wrong I'm buying. I'm shocked in the trading center is coming, check the cigarette. She's telling me this is wrong cigarette.
Again, I'll ask you, did you ever receive any receipts from any of those who came and sold cigarettes to you?
Yes. He's giving me the receipt.
What he's trying to... Sorry, ma'am, I can explain what... Okay.
For buying...
Yeah.
Yes, he's giving me to receipt, local receipt, give me.
The GTI?
GTI, yeah.
So they gave you a receipt?
Yes.
And yet you took these from a supposed Lambert and Butler dealer, and you didn't get a receipt?
Yes.
That was
Yes, yeah. And they give me the local receipt, the plus VAT and everything. I'm not sure this is no wrong receipt.
Thank you.
think you look a bit confused there, Councillor, and I understand it. What Mr. Lambert, correct me if I'm wrong, what Mr. Lambert has just said is previously when he gets GTI tobacco reps come in, they do give a receipt. He's aware of that, they give a receipt. On this occasion, he wasn't given a receipt. I get that. In terms of your involvement in the business previously with Mr. Beatty, what was your actual involvement in the business? And were you aware that he had been found with illicit tobacco in the business previous?
No, I'm not sure the previous is the, I don't know the Mr. Beatty selling wrong cigarette and wrong alcohol.
So you was not aware, you haven't, he did not tell you that there was, what's the word, the raid on the shop, and they found this quantity, quite a bit, with bags of chewing tobacco and other bits and pieces. You was not aware of that?
No.
Is that what you're saying? As a director of the firm, you was not aware of it?
No, only director.
And Mr. Beatty did not, let me finish. And Mr. Beatty did not make you aware of it? You had no conversations about it? Is that what you're asking us to believe?
Can I answer that, because I have spoken to him.
I imagine you were going to answer that. Yeah, I got that. Because I mean, I'm going to emphasise the points again. Is Mr. Lambert absolutely clear about what we're saying? Because if he's not, we'll give you the time to interpret and let him know exactly, rather than you answer the questions. If you let him know exactly what we're asking, yeah. So we just want to get at the facts.
I understand, Chairman. I understand. If you give me a minute, I'll be able to explain to him what you're asking. Chairman, do you want me to answer the question that is, or?
If Mr. Lambert could do it,
Oh, yeah.
If Mr. Lambert could do it, I'm more than welcome to listen to it.
Yeah, in the previous he's no tell me that I'm selling wrong cigarette and wrong tobacco. He's no tell me in the standards coming, some take it cigarette and everything. I'm no sure. He's no talk to me.
Okay. Any more questions, councillors? No? Okay then.
Chairman, could I just ask a question? It's about this training course that was mentioned, the training that Mr. Lambert's undertaking at the moment. I think that's quite important for the committee to be aware of this. So can you confirm which organisation is providing the training? Is that accredited training? And is it under a proper training programme, or is it some ad hoc training?
I don't know whether you're aware.
We're very welcome for Mr. Lambert to answer this, because you have mentioned the point that he's already attending this training. So I would welcome Mr. Lambert answering the question, please.
Chairman, the reason I'm answering...
Once you explained it to him. Explain to him what legal has asked for. The question. Yeah. So if he could explain it, and then, I'm welcome to that.
Yeah, Chairman, I'm briefly putting this answer of what the legal is asking is this training firm accredited? Is that what you're asking for?
Yes.
Yeah. Just to briefly tell you that we are the training company ourselves. We are accredited by BII, and we are a very well-known training firm for the last 15 years in the market. And it's called Personal License Courses Training Limited. We produce our training manuals, and we look after majority of the community in the licensing trade in Hillingdon, Hounslow, and all that areas. Is that what you're asking?
Thank you. I think what would be helpful is if you're able to inform the subcommittee of the title of the course, the title of the training that Mr. Lambert's undertaking. If there's a confirmatory letter or something about the attendance of that. So because at the moment, it seems to me there's no there's no detail for the committee as to what training is being undertaken.
Normally the trainings we provide, our company provides is BII accredited training, BII level 1 and BII level 2.
Only on what's been presented, because we're going to move it, we're going to move into the discussion stage very soon. So I think if that can.
It is on this.
Okay, right, far away, Councillor Allen.
Yes, Councillor, they do get a certificate for the BII level 2 and BII level 1. If the responsible authorities insist that they want further training, which is DPS level 3, if the responsible authority, it is the responsible authorities who normally ask the clients that they would like the client to undergo a DPS level 3 training, then we can provide that. Yeah.
We're not into that
part, yeah. But certificates are issued, and we provide certificates. We also make our own training manuals, which are very popular with the responsible authorities.
All right, we finished with the questions, yep. Right, we now move on to the discussion stage. I will kick off. I'll start with Ms. Mukherjee. Were the CCTV cameras looked at regards when the purchase of this illicit, illegal tobacco was made?
When on 24th of April, I can't remember the date, please bear with me.
Written this another way. Was any evidence offered up by the licence holder to actually show this? Because he said he couldn't remember the name, what he looked like, what car he drove. But I understand he has CCTV in the shop. Did he offer this up as... Don't panic. Did he offer up any information regards... Look, I don't remember it, but this is the evidence.
No CCTV images were checked on 26th April 2018. I was not there during the joint operation, but when I did my visit on 19th of June, I did check the CCTV images, and the CCTV was working and they were complying with the conditions on their premises license. But I must also mention here that my compliance check was not in relation to searching for counterfeit or smuggled goods. This review is in relation to the seizure of counterfeit products, which is why I cannot comment on whether any products were available on the day.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillors, any questions? I do apologise. There you go. All right. I've got no more questions, so we now move on to closing remarks from each party. We start off with the licence holder. So, Mr. Lambert, Mr. Panchal.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Chairman, we do understand that from our conversation with the licence holder, we have had a very good relation with the present licence holder, and he does cooperate with us in all the trainings that we are providing to him. We are making sure that all the licence objectives, as you've seen by the visit by the licensing officer on the 19th June, that no breaches of the conditions are taking place at the premises now. Mr. Lambert does understand the prevention of crime and disorder, which he did not comply with during the visit of the trading standards, and he now understands how he has to run his premises, and regular trainings which are now going to be logged into the training manual on regular basis every 3 months are going to be carried out at the premises on regular basis. So, Chairman, we are proposing that we agree with the 1 month suspension of the premises, whereby we will be undergoing another extensive trainings for the staff and Mr. Lambert to make sure this mistake does not happen again at the premises. And the extra conditions that the trading standards are proposing are also going to be made sure put into the licensing.
Thank you. Mr. Lambert, have you got anything to say?
No, thank you.
Okay.
No, and that one time and last time by mistake is, please. I have no mistake, more time, this country.
Thank
Thank you.
Ms. Sain, your closing remarks, and if you could, in your closing remarks, also take on point on what conditions that you've already proposed and from what you've heard today in terms of what the licence holder was in the training that he's been given at the moment, would you feel it's sufficient? If you just give us a little bit on that as well. I understand it's bordering a bit on the general discussion, but if you could, I'd like to hear your expert opinion on that.
As well as doing that, I want to highlight a couple of points. Mr. Lambert, you've held a personal licence for a number of years. Yes?
No questions now. Just your...
Can I not ask a... Right, so Mr. Lambert has held a personal
Sorry, I'm
licence...
going to put that on.
Okay.
No questions. It's just your closing statement now.
Okay. Mr. Lambert has held a personal licence for a number of years. He's also been in the business for a number of years. Whilst he claims not to have any knowledge of the previous visits by trading standards, I can confirm that he was actually present for a lot of the visits. He did hold the capacity of a director. Whether that holds weight within the licensing review subcommittee or not, if this was going to prosecution, the fact that you've previously held a role as a director for this business for a number of years would not assist you. It would count against you. You indicate that you have wholesalers come to your shop to sell you cigarettes. I do know wholesalers do come to off-licence premises and do sell them cigarettes. Every time that would be done, they would be in uniform, they would provide ID, and they would also issue you with an invoice. An individual coming to your shop ununiformed without offering you an invoice is not a genuine trader. With the number of years that you have operated in this business, for you to claim to not know that, for me, is not believable. As a trading standards officer, I do not buy that. And I would also point out to you, whilst it's not visible in the photos, I'm not a tobacco expert. I take experts with me so they can examine the products. Even if the tobacco expert had not been present, these products that were removed from the tobacco gantry were evidently fake. Evidently. If I refer to page 15 of the pack, the initial complaint that came through to us indicated that when they'd bought Marlboro cigarettes from your shop, the image and wording did not match up, and that was consistent with some of the products we found, and also the products didn't line up, they were of poor quality. Standardisation of tobacco has only come in the last 2 years, and the fact that you have new fakes of standardised packaging to me demonstrates that this is not an old thing, this is a new thing, but also you have knowledge of this. You've been a licence holder, personal licence holder for a number of years. You should know better. To say to me that this is the first time, that's what I got told every time I go and do these visits. I don't buy that. And also, with the greatest respect for Mr. Panchal, whenever we do licence reviews and I have people come, licence holders come and you offer them training, I'm always told this is the first time they're being given training and it won't happen again, and I've had it happen again. So I'm not 100% convinced that this is the one and only time, and I have nothing further to say.
Thank you for that. Now it's Ms. Mukherjee.
None at this point, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point, we will now move into our deliberations. So I will ask everybody to leave the room. If you'd like to take your bags, phones and everything else with you as well, please. And we'll call you back when we have a decision. Thank you.